Hello and welcome to Willow Talk. Adam Peacock with Alyssa Healy in the studio. Welcome home.
I'm home.
What are we going to talk about?
All right, I brought back a flak jacket, but
Okay.
bit to dive into, I'd suggest. But lots of cricket going on around the world, so we can always talk about that too.
Exactly. Yeah. Welcome back to Australia.
Yeah,
welcome
thanks.
back. Now, we've got to make mention of this, and we will get into the serious topic, which is just around the corner, but Mother's Day around the place on Sunday. And a shout out to all the mums involved in cricket, whether it's helping you get kids to games, coaching, playing, or just supporting, being great mums. Even bigger shout out to mums that are listening to this podcast as well. What effect did your mum have on your career?
Well,
Yours?
I mean, everyone always asks about, obviously your dad. Like, dad did this, dad did that, took you, coached you, whatever. But mum was often the one to take me to training, take me to games on the weekend, provide the best afternoon tea spread ever, which, I feel sometimes you can't really say anymore, but it's the truth. Some of my greatest memories of cricket growing up were the afternoon teas in the afternoon. So, mum played a huge role in that. Everyone always wants to talk about, how heavily my whole family, the males in my family were involved, but mum was kind of the one that took me everywhere. So she's probably the reason why I'm still playing.
Shout out to your mum. Shout out to all the mums who are involved in cricket in this great game. Now, coming up today, the Willow Talk Trophy. Well, that wasn't on the bingo card. The lights going out and a war kicking off. But, we'll have to hand out the trophy because...
All I know is I won.
Yeah, exactly, because Punjab and Delhi was always going to be if there was a no result. And I did say that on the podcast last week, didn't I, when Nads was joining
preempted it.
Yeah, that if there was a no result, it would then flow on to a rugby league game here in Australia between the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs away to Canberra Raiders. And at 20-0 down, it was looking pretty good for Hads.
One of the greatest comebacks of the season so far. The whole weekend was. I mean, we talk about cricket, but, the Bulldogs were unbelievable.
So when Hads returns, we will present that trophy to your good self. I can't do it now without him here.
Well, you never know. Punjab and Delhi might resume
10
cricket
overs
in
in.
the next few days, so we'll wait and see what happens.
Exactly. But the IPL has been postponed, of course. As we sit here right now, we don't know exactly when it's going to restart, but we'll go into exactly how this last 3-4 days has panned out because it's been unique. Put it that way. Big news also from a cricketing sense out of India that Rohit Sharma's retired from Test cricket and Virat Kohli is going to follow him out the door, apparently. So India new Test captain, Virat no more Test cricket, potentially, Rohit definitely. So we'll talk about that and Sundries. Marcus Harris hitting or scoring centuries for fun in county championship, and a man in England is running marathons in full cricket kit. For a great cause, it is. It'd have to be for a great cause if you're going to do that. But we'll get to that a bit later on. Now, remember to hit us up on social media if you want to get in touch with the show by searching Willow Talk Podcast on TikTok and Instagram and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Listener Sport. So, Nick got in contact via Spotify and said, how's it going? Good,
Hey,
thanks, Nick.
Cheers, Nick.
Asked Heels 3 days ago, and I dare say you get a bit of a different answer. But thanks for asking, Nick. How's it going? Good. I currently play for the Caboolture Snakes. Our club coach is former Queensland Bulls coach Terry Oliver and speaks highly of Hads. And our admin is former BBL and New Zealand international wicketkeeper Rachel Priest, who talks about her battles with Heels. Doesn't say she talks highly of you here, Heels, but any good stories on her, Heels, out of the Caboolture Snakes?
I'm a little bit worried about what stories she's been telling about me because they're probably spot on. And yes, I have a few good stories on my New Zealand counterpart, Rachel Priest, that I don't want to share because I don't want to get either of us in trouble. But all I will point out is the outground at Eden Park, Australia v New Zealand in a Rose Bowl series, Rachel Haynes' dismissal. That's all that needs to be said.
Or can you give a little bit more context
No,
to
you
our
can Google
listeners? Google it.
Google it.
Okay, we will. I'll do it in the drinks break. Now, if you're keen to send us your club cricket hats, send them to producer Joel. The instructions of where to send them in the episode notes. And Kieran has sent a hat in from the Wagga RSL Bulldogs. Now, Wagga is a part of Australia which has produced sports people for fun in every sport. AFL, rugby league, or Aussie rules, rugby league, and also cricket, particular Olympians as well. Now, Kieran has said, we organised a pre-season friendly one-day game against a Griffith club. We got an hour down the road to Narendra, and the bus, which was supplied by our sponsored pub, was out of rego. That's a problem. We had to wait on the side of the road for about 8 hours, and by the time we got home, the pub offered a free beer, but no one was keen. Up the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
That's an interesting tale. Has that happened to you in your cricket career, that you've been on a mode of transport that's been out of rego?
No, never. I keep up to date with that.
The wonderful world of cricket keeps on throwing up unique stories, and it's done it right here with the Wagga RSL Bulldogs. So thank you for the cap. It is in our collection as well. Does look like it's seen a few days in the sun, this cap.
But I think we now understand it, because we were questioning. We're like, hang on, someone's been wearing this for 100 games, but that hat has been sat on the side of the road for 8 hours, sweating away.
It's got sweat marks on it.
Yeah.
It's literally got, hang on. Oh, yep, that's been worn. That has definitely been worn. But no, thanks you, Kieran, for sending that one through. So, to the IPL.
Oh, what's happened?
Oh, not much. So we had this Happy Families show last week with yourself and Hads lined up for Delhi v Punjab. I've got to say, I made mention of the fact that you asked me, what do you reckon's going on here? Because a few days beforehand, it seemed to have escalated the border, which is just to the west of Punjab. You're in the north of the country. Mm-hmm. And for a very long time, this has been a disputed area. A little quick history lesson. Since 1947, when Pakistan and India got split, basically, when British rule ended, that area of the world has been disputed. So a few things kicked off back and forth between India and Pakistan. You asked me, what's going on up there? And I said, don't worry about it. They've been going at each other since 1947, not really getting on. Nothing really will escalate. I couldn't have been more wrong if I tried, so apologies for that, first of all.
Thanks for the bad advice.
For putting you through that false sense of security. So what happened? Because you rock up to the game between Delhi and Punjab, and 10 overs in, the lights go out.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I got a little quick history lesson from Graham Swan while I was over there, because while we were waiting to get out of Dharamshala, we were having a few beers down at the bar, and Graham Swan was there. And he apologised on behalf of all of the Welsh over there, because apparently back then there was a Welshman that actually drew that line, which is the line that they fight over at the moment. So we're blaming the Welsh. And he apologised on behalf of all of them as to what's unfolding.
Magnanimous of him.
Good work, Swanee. Cheers. Yeah, look, it was a surreal experience. We were just sitting there watching the game, and they just got a wicket finally. Delhi, Punjab got off to one of the best starts I've seen in the IPL, and all of a sudden the couple of the light towers went out, and we were just sitting there at the top waiting. And I heard a rumour, like a couple of seats down, they were saying, we might have to evacuate the stadium because obviously the light's gone down. We'll just sort of wait. And we're a large group of family and extra support staff. And next minute, the guy that kind of wrangles the group of us and gets us on the bus and whatnot came up, and his face was white. And he was like, we need to go right now. And we were saying, it's okay. Like, we're probably best off letting everyone else get out of the stadium and like stay here. We're probably safer at the moment because there'll be bloody people going down the stairs everywhere. And then the next guy came out, his face was white, grabbed one of the children, said, we need to leave right now. And we were like, what's going on? We weren't told anything. We had no idea. Next minute we're down, being shuffled into this room. It was like a holding pen. All the boys are there. Faf didn't even have shoes on. He didn't even have shoes on. They're all just waiting there looking stressed. And I said to Mitch, like, what's going on? And he said the town 60 kilometres away had just been smacked by some of the missiles. And so there was a complete blackout in the area, which meant that's why the lights were off, because the Dharamshala stadium was like a beacon at that point in time. So they turned the lights off and they were evacuating everyone. So all of a sudden we're crammed into vans and off we go back to the hotel. There was madness. We were sitting on the bus with some of the Punjab players. I think Shreyas was on my bus. So it was just like, get in a van as soon as you can, get out of there.
So before we go into the following 48 hours, in the lead up to this, was there any inkling that this was a possibility? Because there was thoughts, if I've got my timeline correct, the next Punjab game had already been moved to another part. Ahmedabad, I think it had. So was there thoughts that this game wouldn't go ahead? Did you feel secure in the thought that it was going ahead?
There was a lot of chat around that. And I mean, we didn't joke about it on the podcast. We spoke about it. We weren't sure what was going to unfold in the next 3 days because all the northern airports were shut. So we flew into Dharamshala, and obviously, basically by the time we'd flown in and that night fell, all the airports in that area were shut. So we obviously knew we were going to struggle getting out if completely necessary, unless they opened it and things calmed down. So that probably created a little bit of anxiety around that as well, and knowing that Mumbai weren't coming up because they had no way to get in. So they basically said, we're not coming. You've got to come down south a little bit further and we'll meet you there. I think that was kind of the discussion that took place. So, yeah, there was a lot of anxiety around, especially probably the Australian group, because we didn't have a whole heap of information as to what was going on. And that's probably been, and I'll say this has been the really interesting and probably the scariest part of this whole situation is probably the misinformation that's around the world and probably around life in general at the moment. There's a lot going on, but everything you read was different. Everything you saw was different. Everything you heard was different. So what was actually taking place, no one really knew. Even the governments weren't really sure what was going on because no one could really understand unless you were quite literally living in these villages that were getting attacked. So I think that created probably more of the anxiety. I think there was a lot of talk around we shouldn't be playing. It's not a great time to be playing, first and foremost, but also we're quite close to what's being fought over. So should this happen, but we were assured everything was fine. Everything's okay. It's miles away. The game will go ahead, and everything will be fine. And look, at the end of the day, they evacuated the stadium as a precaution, which was fine, but it was probably a little bit too close for comfort, if you ask. Probably an Australian who we live quite safely and happily down here, but it was a little bit close for comfort.
Yeah, and we will put this in context right now. In case you didn't know, this is a cricket podcast, so we're not going to get into the
I'm not
details.
Getting into the politics of the whole situation, that's for sure.
Geopolitically, we'll put that to one side, but we do feel for, and you would too, everyone in that area, both sides of the border, because if this escalates, a lot of people, for instance, who love cricket, but just a lot of innocent people, full stop, are going to be in a really, really horrible situation. So our thoughts there are about that, and geopolitically and everything. We'll leave that right there, but we'll just paint it in your story, which you lived through, and also a cricketing sense. And I know that feels like a complete afterthought. Well, the cricket, for instance, about when's the IPL going to start? But we will get into that. We will touch on that because this is a cricket podcast. But, okay, so you get in that bus, you drive away. What happens next? Like, how do you know what's going on and what's your priority in your head right then?
Well, it was more like, how do we get out? Like, at no point did I really feel like terrified, like something was genuinely going to happen. Like, it still felt like 60 kilometers isn't that far away, but it still felt like there's a lot of mountain ranges to get over before you get there. And I don't know, it just was like, okay, well, what's the plan? What's the process to get to two teams, BCCI staff members who are all working at the game, crew, you think about the television crews, broadcasters, everything. How do you get this large amount of people out of this place when there's no planes, no nothing?
You're talking hundreds of people, aren't you?
Like there's 300 people, I believe, that were
travelling circus
trying to get out.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there was a few whispers of pack a small bag, we're getting on a bus tonight, we're leaving, we're getting out of here, and that was quickly shut down by some security briefing that said, look, if you go tonight, you're at a real risk of something happening because driving on the roads, first and foremost, in that area, are not safe at night. The roads aren't great. It's quite hilly, and if your driver gets tired, you're in strife. So we'll all go together tomorrow. We've got a plan in place. We'll get you out in the morning. Don't panic. Sit tight tonight. Help yourself to the buffet.
So you're not in the bunker, just like down below.
No, we're staying in this beautiful resort in Dharamshala that looks over the whole town, and you've like got the mountain behind you, and it felt like you could be anywhere in the world. It's like on an exotic holiday, and here we are being told we're going to get evacuated. But don't panic. Help yourself to the buffet. And as true to form, all the Aussies went down to the bar and said, well, we're going down, we're having a Corona with us. So that's like as much info as we got, and packed a bag and just tried to sleep as much as you could, knowing the next day was going to be really long. And
it was a long day next day.
Very long day. It's like 5.5 hours on a bus. Actually ended up going southwest towards the border, which was a little bit terrifying.
Oh, terrific.
Mitch and I played too much Call of Duty, and we're noticing all the SAM sites that were just sitting there ready to go. And for those that don't know, they're just like a radar-operated system that shoot missiles at aircraft.
Yeah.
So there was a few of them on the way through in some of the small towns, but 5.5 hours on a bus, 6 hours on a train, but got us to Delhi, and all of a sudden we were in our hotel room that night and slept tight.
Obviously, Mitch is there for the cricket to play for Delhi Capitals. You're there on a holiday, in inverted commas, some holiday. One of the more interesting holidays he's taken you on. But how was the information about what his obligations were with Delhi and what he needed to do if they were going to... Because at this stage it felt like, and these are the reports we're getting back here across the weekend, that the IPL was done. England were putting their hand up to finish it in September. There was no possibility, which is now apparent, that it might continue this week sometime.
Yeah. Well, I think once the announcement came out, it was being suspended for a week. There was a bit of chat of all the international players, especially the international players that had been up north, which, Delhi was playing Punjab. So I think there was 13 Australians involved in that fixture. That's just in the cricket teams, let alone the broadcasters and whatnot. At that point in time that were like, we need to go home just in case something does kick off. So basically, like booking flights and stuff, which the franchise was supportive of, they said, oh, okay, go if you want to. Where they were encouraged to maybe stay a little bit closer because I think they were going to make a real decision within 3 days as to what it might look like. So they suspended it for a week, but maybe in about 3 days they'd know a bit more about what's taking place and whether they can get the IPL up and running again. So they were kind of encouraged to stay close, but all the Australians are gone. They're all at home.
They have gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the players have
Well, I saw on the news over the weekend that, Stoinis, Inglis, David walking through an airport in Australia, and then I log on and I see someone from an IPL team, I think from Punjab, saying, oh, no, none of the international players have gone. I'm like, hang on.
Yeah.
Did I see that? Was that a hologram of Marcus Stoinis walking through a...
Yeah. All the Australian players are at home now, which is great, first and foremost. And then I think the next sort of 48 hours might determine as to a bit more information about what's going on and then what needs to happen if the IPL is moving forward and what it might look like and who's going, who's not going, etc.
I know you can't speak for others, but is the sense if it continues in the southern states or somewhere else in the world, it's kind of just game on and play on, or is that not your call to make?
Well, yeah, and not going into the political side of it again, but I feel like with all the information and the lots of different information that's coming in and around the tournament, but about the war side of it as well, I think, to be completely honest, to feel comfortable for me, if I was a player right now, to feel comfortable to go back and take part in the tournament, I'd be waiting for some government advices to say, yes, it's safe to go back to India right now and things have calmed down. The ceasefire's only been in place for a day. It's held for a day. It was broken within the first 4 hours of the initial thing, so we've been told. So it's been in place a day. For me to feel safe, I'd like the Australian government to say, no, you're okay. Things have de-escalated. There's obviously a lot of countries in the talks as well involved in it to go, yep, no, things have definitely calmed down. You should be right to go and be safe.
Well, the DFAT website, which is the go-to from an Australian perspective, it's the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, who put up travel warnings for every country. You Google a country, and India, it says just do not go north at the moment, and it's a bit of I think it's an orange colour for the rest of the country for India, and it's a do not go Pakistan as well. So that's how they've painted it. I did kind of shake my head and say, this is the world we're living in right now, that Donald Trump basically claims the ceasefire, which by proxy means that Donald Trump saves the IPL. So that's where we're at. A guy who can't even pronounce Sachin Tendulkar's name and Virat Kohli's name properly. But anyway, here we are right now in the world. But
that was the funniest part about it, is like that's what I mean about the different levels of information that we're receiving. And it's like we're basically told, like, don't go on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, because there's so much different information. But then we're taking our safety.
So what did you do straight away?
No, I'm not on it.
Oh, okay.
But we're literally taking our advice from a tweet from a US president about what's safe and what's not. So that's what I'm saying. I think, like, in reality, I feel like the Australian government need to give the all clear for me to feel safe to go back there, and because both the fingers are still on the button. It's just a ceasefire. So anything can happen at any point in time. You hope to God it doesn't, and you hope that things are safe moving forward, and you hope that the IPL does go ahead. But I'd like some reassurance before I got back on that plane. At
any point did you think, what have I done? I feel really unsafe here? Or was it just I'll let you just answer that. Yeah.
Nah, like, I will say we were sitting, so things had started to kick off up north again, reports of it. And here I am sitting, like I said, sitting at this beautiful resort in Dharamshala looking over the thing. We're having a little bit of lunch. There's a bit of chatter about, what was going on. This was game day. And we were having lunch and it's in the middle of the day. And some peanut down in the village decides that it's a great idea to set off some fireworks in the middle of the day.
Goodness.
So there's obviously a little bit of anxiety around everyone. I think everyone at lunch just turned straight around and was like, oh my God. And then I was like, pinpointed, I could see it. There was like fireworks just going up. But I was like, that is like the worst timing. And I hope it was a wedding and I hope they have a beautiful marriage. But that was just not great timing. So no, there was anxiety and like terrified at the same time, but I still felt like we would have been okay.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We weren't right in the firing line.
But driving away from somewhere like that, I don't know how big you think about it, but like you think, all these poor people who don't have an option.
Correct.
Like far out, getting caught up in something like this.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Yeah, they've been fighting over that line of control for, like you said, a really long period of time. 80 years or something like that, or coming up 80 years. And people still live there. They go about their daily business every day and get terrified every couple of months when something happens. But kudos to them who do it.
Pakistan. So the PSL got cancelled, led to believe that it was going to happen in the Middle East and finish it somewhere in the UAE, but that got binned as well. Have you heard any stories from those boys about what went down?
I think that one, and that's where there's some sort of perspective to our story, is that one was a little bit more terrifying in a sense that was right there. I think one of the drones got shot down right outside Rawalpindi Cricket Stadium, which, some of the boys were staying right there and, saw all that going down. Even the charter flight out there, airspace was shut. So for them to get a charter flight out of Pakistan was a huge effort from everybody involved to get all the international players out of there to Dubai, and then were able to get home. So without gear, mind you, I think they left like some of their stuff behind. I can't confirm that, but from what I've heard, it sounds like that. So yeah, that one quite terrifying. It seems like, and that's where once again back to the information piece. I felt like being in India, a lot of the information we were getting was about the Indian side of the news, whereas we weren't hearing as much about the Pakistani side, and that one sounds quite terrifying. And the fact that airstrip got hit just after that charter flight got out was it's probably a story for those guys to tell, and girls.
Yeah.
I mean, Lisa Sthalekar was on that flight as well, so it'll be interesting to get their thoughts when they get home.
Yeah, definitely. Just glad they got out, but I mean, obviously this has the potential, or probably will further politicise cricket when it comes to India and Pakistan. They only play in ICC events, so I don't know what's going to happen there. We got a little taste of it, was it 6 months ago? 3 months ago when India refused to play Champions Trophy. No, not even 2 months ago. India refused to play Champions Trophy in Pakistan, so... we've got a World Cup in September, October in India. Pakistan qualified first in the qualifiers, so Pakistan are in the ODI World Cup. So, I mean, there's huge ramifications for our cricket as well. There's already talk of Pakistan playing in Sri Lanka. So all the teams everyone plays everyone in an ODI World Cup. So all the teams are going to have to travel to Sri Lanka to play Pakistan and then travel back to India to play everybody else. So, yeah, it's a fascinating one as an observer or, unbiased sitting in the middle to just watch unfold. And you just, as a cricketer, we hope that, cricket doesn't get involved, but sadly it has. Were you glad to be home? You looked over the moon when you walked through. I saw you on the news last night. So I know her. You're famous when you're getting your return to Australia filmed and put on the news. You
know what? I genuinely did not see them at any point. They came out of nowhere. I turned around and just had a microphone in his face, and I was like, where did they come from? I didn't see them at all, but I would like to explain the look on my face if you've seen any of the paparazzi photos. And that guy that was walking in front of me, so there's a slight little, for everyone who's flown back in internationally, there's a little slope on the way back out after you've cleared customs, right? And I've got I'm pushing a trolley, there's some bags on there, they got my golf bag, the important stuff, getting out of a war zone.
Yeah.
And the guy in front of me, just wheeling a tiny little bag on the phone, was walking really slowly. And I was having to hold on to my trolley really tightly not to hit him in the back of the Achilles.
Slow walker.
I had road rage. I was like, get out of the way. Get out of the way. I'd like to go home. So if you see me looking really unhappy, that's why. That guy on the phone,
Yeah.
honestly.
Just to reiterate, though, it was good to be home,
Yeah,
even though it didn't look like it.
Yeah, it didn't look like it, but I went, here we are. We're back at home.
Yeah, there's no place like home. But Hads are still over there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Attaboy, flying the flag.
flying the flag. We'll hopefully catch up with him either in this episode, later in this episode, or the next one. But he's
the beauty of having a man over there is that he's going to let us know and all the breaking news as to what's unfolding in the IPL on the spot. So it's handy having someone that close.
Yeah, he's going to be on Willow Talk, and anyone who wants to pick him up as a correspondent for everything that's going on over there, he can be our man on the ground. So good to see you home safe and sound, though. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Given what was probably a week you won't forget too quickly, I can't imagine.
Well, it was funny when we got back to Delhi. A few of the guys and girls that worked for the Delhi Capitals were like, "Oh, how was your trip up to Dharamshala?" Like,
what?
And I was like, "Well, it was a bit more eventful than what we had planned." And they were like, "Oh, yeah, but did you enjoy the place?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to spend a little bit more time there, but we were kind of rushed out." So
Were they across what exactly went down?
No, yes, they were, but they were hoping that I still enjoyed my experience up there. And I said, yeah, I really did, outside of the fact that we were talking about missiles the whole time. But
did
it's
Delhi
such a
feel
beautiful part
normal?
of the world.
When
It
you were
felt
there?
a little bit
On an inch?
quiet. Yeah,
Okay.
probably more quiet than what I'd experienced it. But that's the nature of where your government is, right?
There you go. So that was Hills' last week, the adventure. Back home now to continue on the cricket chat. We're just going to go cricket chat now,
Let's do it.
if that's okay. So, staying in India, Rohit Sharma announced on Instagram, which is how you do it these days, that he's stepping down, retiring from Test cricket. And over the weekend, rumours have come out that Virat Kohli wants to retire from Test matches, but the BCCI has stepped in and said, not yet.
Interesting, right?
I
feel like if I told Cricket Australia that I was ready to retire, they said, "Why didn't you do it 12 months ago?" But
Don't be like that.
I mean,
you've got that date in your head, which
I
only
I've
you
got it.
know, maybe Mitch, but you're not telling
Not
us,
even him.
unless you want to tell us now.
No.
Well, you haven't even told Mitch.
Huge. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, big. I mean, the Rohit one, to me, surprising because I think he'd come out and said that he was looking to play in England. And, after that game at the SCG, he didn't play. I thought at the time, like, interesting decision. I mean, good on him if he genuinely believes he's not in form and wants to give somebody else a go. Cool. But it was interesting at the time. But I guess for him to make that decision finally and go, whether he was pushed, whether he wasn't, we'll never know. The BCCI operate a little bit differently. But, kind of a sad day. I'm like, I love watching him in Test cricket because he's sort of plays the same way as he does in white ball cricket, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, he's not 10 off 60, is he?
Yeah, it's cool. And the Virat one is going to be a really interesting one to watch. I mean, if the guy genuinely wants out, how do you stop him?
Yeah, you want him to play that series in England, though, don't you?
I think all of Australia want the best Indian side to play that 5-test series in England just to see exactly where everyone's at. But, I mean, if he doesn't want to play, how do you make him?
Brian Lara came out and said Test cricket needs Virat. He's going to be persuaded he's not going to retire from Test cricket. Virat Kohli is going to average above 60 for the remainder of his career.
Big call, Brian.
Brian Lara and his silver DeLorean, who's jumped into the future 3 years down the track and said that, no, he's going to be fine. He's come back to the present day.
I find it interesting that he would word it Test cricket needs Virat. I think, is that from a perspective of Test cricket's dying and we need the big players still playing? Whereas I think to see the young guys come in and play their version of the game, of the Test game, is, I find, quite interesting to watch unfold. So I get it from a sense of he's a superstar, and to have Virat in your lineup over in England would be huge. But Test cricket's still there.
Yeah, well, when Brian retired from the West Indies were never quite the same. Or probably haven't been, arguably, say for a couple of tests here and there. Whereas I would have thought that if Virat retires from India, they got the depth to kind of cover things. You would have seen it in the past couple of weeks, yeah?
Yeah, they've got some guys that could do it and play a very exciting brand of Test cricket, that is for sure.
Exactly. So Jasprit Bumrah has apparently declined the captaincy, vacated by Rohit Sharma. So Shubman Gill is the man that everyone's talking about. Rishabh Pant is in the conversation as well, but it looks like Shubman Gill's the guy. Now he's 25. He's got everything about him with the charisma and the following, the name as well. So in 10 years' time, he could be Virat Kohli type status in terms of overall name. But at the moment, his place in the team's not assured.
Yeah, but I think
Or is it they're just building him knowing
yeah,
that he will be a long-term Test player for India?
it's always sounded like he is your long-term plan. Like he's been given
Mm.
lots of opportunities in different countries around the world to see where he's at. So I feel like they're prepping him to be a long-time role. But I mean, when you're choosing a captain, you're not necessarily choosing your best player. You're choosing someone that's going to create an environment for people to flourish or lead really well, whatever your leadership style might be. And it seems like he's quite a chilled out guy, except for when he gets run out when potentially isn't out. He seems to fire up, but quite a chilled out guy, and I would probably have the room. It's interesting that Bumrah declined it, I think, from a back perspective. I mean, yeah, how much Test cricket has he really got left in him with knowing his constant back issues? So I don't know enough about the situation, but I think seeing him go about his business in the IPL, it seems like a really positive environment that he creates. So why wouldn't you have a guy like that in there?
So it's a period of generational change for India, regardless if Kohli goes now or very soon. So since they got rolled over by New Zealand last year at home, they went on to lose the Border Gavaskar Trophy, arguably because Bumrah wasn't there on the last day of the SCG, but it happened. First loss in a decade. Ravichandran Ashwin retired. Rohit Sharma has retired. Virat Kohli looking to retire.
Yep.
So there is that change coming, and Mohammad Shami no guarantee to play extensive Test cricket in the future. So, yeah.
But you think about that record that they've had. So you get balled over at home, you lose the Border Gavaskar. If that was Australia or England, has been, mass clean out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like, the coach is gone, the skipper's gone, there's new batters in there. So the fact that they haven't done that, like, shows that they're quite confident in what they want to do. But the guy's retiring. It's like, actually, most teams would have already done that, which is fascinating.
That was my question, like earlier, like 6 months ago, about Virat and Rohit Sharma, is that do they let them retire or are they going to be shoved? And the word back was, particularly from Hads and yourself, was no, they don't. They don't shove their legends. They just let them go. With Pujara, he was basically not picked again.
Yeah.
Rahane, not picked again. It was like, yeah, we still like you, but we're not going to retire you, but we're just not going to pick you.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a bit different.
Well, they've done a bit of a clean out with the staff as well. So, yeah, there'll be a lot of different dynamics in and around that side. So, anyway, it'd be an interesting one to follow and what does unfold. But, yeah, England's looking very different to what it was 6 weeks ago.
Absolutely pumped about that series with England and India, those 5 Test matches. So even more so now with a different complexion about this Indian side. We're off to a quick drinks break here on Willow Talk. Back with Sundries. Marnus, he's going to warm up for the World Test Championship in Wales. Not England, but we're looking forward to that. And a bit of other news around the place, including this incredible guy who's going to do a marathon in full cricket kit. Incredible. Welcome back to Willow Talk. Sundries now heels on Willow Talk. Marnus Labuschagne, he's off to the UK again. He's going to play for Glamorgan. He's home away from home. No real surprise. 2 games before the World Test Championship. Smart way to prepare.
Yeah, well, he's done it quite regularly, gone over there and played a little county stint, but if you're ever going to warm up for that World Test Championship final, that's where you do it. The biggest question around it will be, where does he bat for Glamorgan? 4
or open?
Well, yeah, knowing a little bit of chat around what the order might look like to fit a few players in. Marnus's name's been thrown around to shift, so that one might give us a little bit of insight.
Yeah. Can you walk into a county and say, I'm playing here?
Yeah.
Or do they tell you?
I said that, yeah, very confidently, but no, I think they would have some say in it. You can't open the batting for Glamorgan, but I think if you pushed it enough, maybe. But then you're opening it, to be fair, then you're opening yourself up to, so if he does open for Glamorgan and you come up against some of the England players, then you're opening yourself up a little bit there too, so it goes both ways.
It does. Now, we mentioned Marcus Harris last week, and he scored another ton over the weekend. Incredible. Now, 700 runs plus in 9 digs, 350s, 300s, average of 88. I mean, he's probably not in the thinking of George Bailey and Andrew McDonald unless they start losing cattle up the top for one reason or another, but far out, he's put himself in the frame if something did happen.
I still think that he's there in the thinking. Like, I know Had's blatantly ruled it out last week and trust his opinion, but I still think he's there and thereabouts. And like I said, like if this had been 9 months ago, we wouldn't even be sitting here having this conversation. He would have opened the batting for Australia in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So, but once again, all you can do is talk with your bat, and he's making runs over in England at the right time. So, like I said, if you're going to pick on form for that championship final, he's stuck his hand up. Whereas, if you're picking for the future, then there's obviously other options. But he's doing everything he can.
Now, after the latest one-day rankings, England are 8th in the blokes. There's a chance they might miss out on direct qualification for the next ODI World Cup. That's a bit of work to do. They should be fine. They'll play enough cricket to be able to get that ranking up, and you think they'd put their minds. But it's a big challenge for Brendan McCullum, who's taken on all three roles, to make sure he gets this one right and not just worrying about the test match scene.
New skipper too, so I don't know whether they'll make a heap of changes to the side as such as well, like the cattle that they've got, but it'll be also another interesting watch. Like you said, they've got a lot of cricket, but you've still got to win those games of cricket to qualify for that World Cup. And the qualifiers aren't an easy place either. Yes, they'd probably go into that if that situation did unfold, but sometimes the qualifiers are in places of the world that don't have flat wickets, and baseball might be a little bit tricky to operate. So, yeah, I think they'll be completely fine, but it'll be one to talk about, no doubt.
Beautiful video online, speaking of England cricket. Joss Butler decided to go for a walk one day in Mumbai, and this was before everything kind of kicked off, so he was still in the country, obviously. So he's grabbed it's not even a stump. It's just like a piece of spare wood from a building site, and he's decided to let some kids roll the arm over, and just quietly, the little kid who's bowling to him, it's not rolling the arm over, his little jet. He's come down with a bit.
Yeah, off 20 yards. He's bowling it from 2 meters away. So, no, but they're the kind of cool stories in and around the IPL and players going over and playing there. And they are so well known over there, all the international players, the local ones too, but the international players, when they do get the opportunity to get out and about and participate in that. I know Jake Fraser McGurk went to one of the little academies down the road I think when we were in Delhi, and had a little net session with some of the bowlers and had a little tonk, and all the kids are sitting around the net watching him go about his business. So any opportunity for the players to be able to get involved in that regard, I think is great.
You and Mitch were stuck in that mall still, the story you told last week.
We're still trying to get an Uber out of the mall in Delhi, to be able to stop and play a game of cricket.
Now, what about this game of cricket between the UAE women and the Qatari women? Traditional rivals, by the way, I might add. Border there, just like get stuck into each other, a bit like New South Wales and Queensland in origin. But UAE women, interesting looking scorecard. 10 players retired out with their openers. None for 192.
Yeah.
So they basically declared.
Well, so they weren't allowed to declare. So what I'm reading is in these fixtures, you're not allowed to declare, which I find quite remarkable. Like if you feel like you're on top, like do it. But with the threat of rain coming around.
Unusual in that part of the world.
Yeah, but I mean, when it does rain there, it rains hard. They weren't allowed to declare. So they just padded everyone up. They walked out, marked centre and retired. So none for... What was it? None for 192, and then bowled the other team out for 29, got the game done.
Yeah, they had a bit of confidence in their attack, UAE, and fair enough too. It was well-founded. Yeah. Qatar bowled out for 29. Big win for the UAE women. Simriti Mandana, so a legend of the game. She's at it again. Another one-day century. Moving her up to third on the all-time list of centuries, behind Meg Lanning. Meg still on 15. Susie Bates on 11. So, no real surprise there for you.
Yeah, there's a little try series happening. South Africa gone home now, but India, Sri Lanka and South Africa were playing some ODI cricket in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka beat South Africa. India beat South Africa, so South Africa went home, but India, Sri Lanka played in the little final of that. But yes, Smriti's probably been the most consistent female player over the last 12 months. I mean, we look at our side quite a lot, but we kind of don't follow when we're not playing the Indian side. But she's scored runs for fun over this calendar year, so no real surprise. One of the more stylish cricketers in the women's game, that's for sure. Nice to watch.
How are things shaping up ahead of a World Cup later in the year? Obviously, the Australians are on a break right now, and but the rest of the world, how's it all been looking?
There's a lot of cricket actually through the winter. We don't have a lot a few of the girls are scattering, but there's a lot. England have a huge summer over there. They play India over there, and there's a lot of ODI cricket being played before then. So we'll get a really good look as to what sort of lineups or squads that teams are going to go with heading into that World Cup. But there's a lot of cricket being played in the subcontinent. I think a few of the teams are heading to Dubai to play a little tri-series pre the World Cup as well. So it's looking good. It's going to be tough work for everybody. And knowing the grounds that were announced as well for the World Cup were a lot of places that we haven't played before.
Oh, really?
Some smaller stadiums in sort of rural areas. We would call rural areas, but it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Got to call anyone from the 100 yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
Still waiting patiently.
Phone's still on there? Not putting it on flight mode at night?
Waiting patiently. Fortunately, we've actually got a series in Australia. Have got a series against India A around that same sort of time. So there's no shortage of cricket that I'm available for. So we'll wait and see.
You putting your hand up for Aussie A?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Play as much as I can.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
What, you're sick of golf?
No, we'll see.
Now, sad news over the weekend. Australian legend Bob Cowper passed away at the age of 84. He was a stockbroker, merchant banker. On you, Bob. But he gave up Test cricket at 28, and that's the reason why. So he's obviously made a success away from cricket. But, he passed away over the weekend. As a Test cricketer, though, he showed a bit of form. 307 against England in 1966. First 300 on Australian soil before Matthew Hayden. And he scored over 10,000 first-class runs. So rest in peace, Bob Cowper. And I got to make mention as well, last week, Keith Stackpole, Victorian legend, Australian legend as well. Some lovely stories told about Keith. I remember Stacky from days at Channel 7. He used to come on a program called Sports World and eloquently but decisively talk about cricket. So when I say that, he was always great to listen to, but he always hit an opinion and didn't miss, and loved the game, and a lot of people loved him. So rest in peace, Keith Stackpole as well. So two legends gone but not forgotten from Australian cricket. But we're going to finish on a positive note, Heels. Richard Williman is on a mission to run 6 long-distance events after his wife passed away with bowel cancer. There's footage of him running in his whites, gloves, pads, grey neck bat in the London Marathon whilst raising money for the Ruth Strauss Foundation, obviously Andrew's wife, which does great stuff for families with cancer patients. Great work, Richard. Give his Instagram a look/follow at 6 Challenge. 6 marathons in cricket gear.
Look, I've always said that the game makes us mad, but that's wild to me. I mean, I wouldn't even run a marathon without cricket kit on, so I can imagine how hard that's going to be. He's obviously done the London one, but to take on another 5, go Richard, go. Do not ask me to partake. No,
I was just about to say, conceivably, if you were asked to do it, how far would you last in full cricket gear running?
Oh, man, I'd do a calf in the first K. Like, running in cricket pads is a really niche thing. And we actually, like, in our preseason have to train yourself how to run in pads again, because you do all your running just in your joggers down at the local park.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you stick a batting pad on you and you're running all differently, and that's where injuries happen. So you actually have to train for that. So I noticed he's wearing his wicket-keeping pads.
I was just about to say, he's done it right. And
No, we're not downplaying this
at all.
Because that's a serious effort.
Running a marathon. I wonder if he had the DP in, though. Yeah. That would have been difficult. Chance of some unusual chafing there. But Richard, incredible, mate.
Unbelievable.
Incredible. Hats off.
We'll do everything we can to... I think we should do an update after every marathon.
Yeah, I want to know what the other marathons are. So, Richie, if you can get in touch, if you or a friend are getting in touch, let us know what the program is. Yeah. He's probably got it up on his Instagram handle. But
genuinely, what I would like to know is he getting quicker?
Surely you get used to it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So I think we should follow this and we should do an update.
Unless he's doing the marathon 2 weeks apart, and then he's no chance physically. He's going to be in bits. He's going to regress in terms of time.
Well, let's hope he puts some thought into it. But it's an amazing thing he's doing.
Incredible. Heels, great to have you home.
Yay.
Good luck with everything.
Thanks.
And see you in a couple of days' time.
I'm sure we'll have a new update in a few days' time.
Exactly. Rapidly evolving space, the IPL. Thanks for listening to Willow Talk. We'll catch you soon. Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.